The Toronto Raptors are enjoying a positive start to this season. Currently sitting at 9-7, they are on pace to match the 48 wins that they had in the previous season, but they could still stand to improve, and they definitely have the assets to do it. So in this video, I'm going to be giving you the 3 players the Raptors could be eyeing huge trades for as we get into the next year and move closer to the trade deadline. Which players can really help this Raptors team reach their ceiling? Let's get into it. What's going on, NBA and Raptors fans? This is Amateur Sports, your source for the greatest coverage and analysis on the latest Toronto Raptors news. We do videos like this that cover news, trade rumors, discussion, and more. So if you like what you see from today's video, then make sure you are subscribed to Amateur Sports. You can help me remember to 13,000 subs. You also get watch parties for Toronto Raptors games, and make sure you've dropped a like on the video to show your support to the channel. But the video in question today, 3 players that the Raptors could actually make a trade for. Not super unrealistic players here, not like superstar sort of players, but ones that are going to bolster this team and provide them with more depth as they look to push on from the 48 wins that they had last season and kick on from the 9-7 start that they have had to this season. We've seen the Raptors, maybe when they're dealing with injuries, I mean, maybe any team, but we can be a little bit thin. Even when we are fully healthy, sometimes the bench unit can just let us down a little bit. So by adding in another quality piece to this team, maybe adding in a guy who can really put the ball in the basket, that could be the difference of the Raptors finishing as like a 5th or 6th seed compared to finishing as a 3rd or 4th seed. All of a sudden hosting a playoff series rather than being the underdog and visiting a team in a playoff series. So these are the things that they can be considering as they move into the next year, the next calendar year, where they're going to be approaching the trade deadline, because surely Masai Ujiri has seen some things about this team that he likes, but he has absolutely seen some things as well that he doesn't particularly like about this team. So the 3 players in question here, I feel can really help this team. They won't cost a ton in a trade, and the Raptors have tradable assets and tradable contracts that can make these trades happen. The first 2, maybe not the most unexpected here, but the 3rd player on the list, I think would be a little bit of a surprise for you guys to see, so make sure you stick around for that point of the video. So the first player in question here, this is a pretty obvious one. He's on a team right now enjoying a great start to the season, but have fallen back a little bit, maybe coming back down to earth a little bit, and I feel like this team should definitely commit at some point to going for a draft pick rather than trying to make something out of nothing this season. And that is, obviously, I think at this point, the Utah Jazz and Jordan Clarkson. One of the biggest issues with the Raptors bench is that there is a definitive lack of shot creators there. It's making it really difficult for Nick Nurse to stagger the minutes within this team because you're trying to find the right balance of guys who can score, the right balance of talent, and the right balance of energy coming off your bench, but you bring in too many of those bench players, and sometimes there just is a little bit of a fundamental lack of scoring there. And it's not maybe just scoring in general, it's about shot creation here, because sure, Boucher over the last 3 games has been putting up some great numbers from an offensive standpoint, but from an individual shot creation standpoint, that's not how Boucher gets his buckets. It's going to be catch and shoot threes. It's going to be getting to the rim. It's going to be getting an offensive rebound and putting it back over there, which is great. And it's really nice to have him coming off your bench, providing that spark a lot of the times that the Raptors really can use. But overall, the bench, I mean, you kind of wanted Precious Achiuwa to take a leap this season, and though he's injured right now, it wasn't looking like that earlier on in this season. So we could stand to have a shot creator coming off the bench, take the playmaking load or the ball handling load at least off of Fred VanVleet. And we're seeing this season that Jordan Clarkson, when put in a good environment, can explode a little bit as a playmaker here, averaging a career high in assists so far this season. It is early, but he is definitely showing much more of a willingness to pass the ball. And contract-wise, he's an expiring contract, so it is just a rental here. He's making $13 million. You have the contracts to be able to match that salary. Khem Birch is a good trade candidate here. He's making $6 million, sporadically used by this Raptors team. So this could be a really interesting piece to add to the bench for the Raptors, though it would depend a lot on the Utah Jazz situation. If they continue to win games, if they continue to just be a playoff threat, though I think, again, this team is bound to fall back down to earth. Markkanen is not going to continue to look like an all-star, I don't think. Kelly Olynyk is not going to look like one of the best bigs in the NBA. So ultimately, maybe just committing to going for that draft pick a little bit earlier here would help Utah rather than being stuck in the middle at like a 500 record, not being a threat in the playoffs, not improving, and also not going out for that draft pick. Jordan Clarkson is an interesting candidate for the Raptors to take on. Now, moving into the second one, this is a bit of a familiar face, and it's one that we have touched on before on this channel, and I'm sure many other Raptors channels have spoken of. He has just started out what could be a career year, and a return to Toronto could be just what this team needs, and that is Jakob Poeltl. The Spurs started out really well in this season as well. They started 5-2, then they lost like 4 or 5 games in a row. They are definitely a team that is going to be tanking this season. Greg Popovich was pretty clear about that in the press conferences going into the season. This is a very young team. There's some good pieces here that they can work with for sure. Keldon Johnson is one of them. Like, they can build around a guy like him. Jakob Poeltl is a nice piece to have there, and maybe he does want to be part of the future here with the San Antonio Spurs, but if the right trade offer is going to come in for the player, I don't think they would really hesitate to get rid of him, given the fact that he is going to be a free agent at the end of the season. So this is another rental one, but this is a player that can definitely come in and help this Raptors team. We're looking at the team right now, and when it's fully healthy, we saw the last time it was fully healthy, Christian Koloko is getting a good amount of minutes, and when there's one player injured from that starting lineup, Koloko is the first guy to come into that starting lineup and allows us to just have that rim protector, that presence that we've been lacking on this team for the last couple of years since Marc Gasol and since Serge Ibaka left. And it just makes the defense better. Like, guys like OG and Anunoby profit from it, because instead of having to just fully stop a player as they drive in trying to get to the rim, they can kind of controllably usher that player into the paint where they're met by a block machine sort of player in Christian Koloko. He just really adds in on the help defense, makes the team defense overall a lot better, and just helps the guys in the perimeter who are already good defenders. But what if we could take that and just upgrade that role that Koloko has? And though it's great to give Koloko minutes out of the gate, if we really are serious about going and winning games and winning as many games as possible this season, Poeltl is a big upgrade to the role that Koloko has. And Koloko can still get minutes off of the bench, definitely can still get minutes off the bench. We are just drastically improving the immediate player there in Jakob Poeltl, somebody who is an excellent defender. We saw that when he was with Toronto, has really blossomed into a great starting big in the NBA with the Spurs. He could play as maybe the sixth man for the Raptors as well, coming off the bench. Maybe this is a situation where we could find Gary Trent Jr. moving to the sixth-man role, bringing Jakob Poeltl into the starting lineup. That's an interesting situation, and this is somebody who can score down low, averaging near 14 points per game, can shoot 65% from the field. Biggest problem for him is the free throw percentages, which do hover around 50%, and though that is a problem, it has not looked like it this season. An excellent rebounder, an excellent interior scorer, and an excellent, and this is the biggest thing, an excellent interior defender. Knows the city, is really good friends with Pascal Siakam. This could be an interesting move for the Raptors to make to really bolster their rim protection this season, especially if you match up with a big like Embiid in the playoffs again. Something like this could really help you out. Now, the third player, and this is one I advertised as maybe a little bit surprising that you maybe wouldn't expect me to do here, but it's another player coming from the San Antonio Spurs. I've had big interest in getting his brother recently, but Tre Jones is a man that I am looking at here. Another one on an expiring contract. Right now, he's making less than $2 million because he was drafted in the second round in a 2020 NBA draft. Now, if you really are thinking about it here, this is another good point guard, good guard the Raptors passed on and drafted Malachi Flynn instead of, but here we are in this situation. Tre Jones is emerging as a quality backup point guard. He's starting for the Spurs here, but he's emerging as a quality backup point guard type player, just like his brother Tyus ever since DeJounte Murray left the San Antonio Spurs. He's averaging a career high in points by a lot. He's at 12 points per game. He's shooting the ball not very efficiently. He is a smaller guard, but he's shooting the three ball really well this season at around 41%, is racking up assists. He's getting about 7 assists per game at this point. This is a quality ball handler to be bringing off your bench. Really, really will help in the non-Fred VanVleet minutes for this team. Somebody who offers a lot more control to a bench unit. And though you're going to have to play a lot of Fred and Tre Jones together, and maybe that does hurt the size of the team a little bit, but Tre Jones, just like Fred VanVleet, though maybe smaller for the position, is a good defender, and he makes up for maybe the lack of what he provides in height by his skills and his qualities in the playmaking department, in the defense department, and of course, the shooting department. He is on pace to having by far the best year of his career, and though he is on an expiring contract. He is a restricted free agent, so there would be some sort of committance from this team to have to pay him because you still have to pay Fred VanVleet, you still have to pay Gary Trent Jr. If you bring in Trey Jones, then you'd also have to pay him at the end of the season. But this could be an interesting candidate, a cheaper option than maybe some of the other guys on this team. That it really looks like this player after his third year, this is his third year. This is a player that could stand to continuously develop in the same sort of vein as his brother Tyus Jones and get to the next level. And this could be the perfect backup guard that this team has been missing. I think guys like Spencer Dinwiddie are out of the question here. That's probably the perfect sort of player that we could have as a six-man role, but you got to pay him quite a bit. He's expensive. Getting that trade done is going to be hard. The Mavericks are very thin already, so no way you can get a player like him. So just subduing that a little bit, guys like Jordan Clarkson, Trey Jones could be viable pieces there. But if you want to bolster the rim protection even more, Jakob Poeltl is a great option. Going into the next year, the next calendar year, as we get towards the trade deadline, I think adding in one piece to this team could really, really help us out and really take us to the next level. I think every team is like, they need one more piece and they're going to get to the next level sort of thing. But we have to analyze, is it worth giving away one of those draft assets to make it happen? All these guys are likely going to cost at least one first-round pick. Is that going to be worth sacrificing when we want to go make that superstar trade down the line in the next couple of years? It's going to cost maybe 3 first-round picks. That's a big decision to make, but if the Raptors feel like they have a really good team this year and want to make it even better, these are 3 really good options that they could look at that teams would be willing to move. So that is it for this video. Make sure you drop a like if you did enjoy, and make sure you're subscribed to Amateur Sports for the greatest coverage and analysis on the latest Toronto Raptors news. We usually do watch parties for every single Raptors game. I'm in New York right now. I recorded this yesterday before my flight, so no live stream tonight. I'll be back on Tuesday with a video and back on Wednesday for a watch party for that Raptors game. See you there.